As many of you know, our association was founded in 1943, and in 1945 the association launched its first publication, a magazine devoted to news about the training industry. Since that time, for 70 years, we've published a magazine that has brought news and trends and information to our profession. The July issue of TD Magazine is actually celebrating the 70th anniversary of the publication, and I had a chance to sit down with Paula Ketter and Pat Galagan to talk a little bit about the history of the magazine and what's in store for readers.
It's changed a lot. It's evolved steadily since the 1940s. Originally it was almost a pamphlet for about a year, and then it went to a regular magazine format. It's actually had 7 names, 7 different titles as it evolved in its focus. It became very, very academic. That's what it was like when I came on board. It was called the Training and Development Journal, and it looked like a publication from a medical professional organization. And from there it evolved into more of a magazine with more graphics, more articles that were suggested and led by the readers. We had a review board. We followed trends in the field. I think we really sort of accompanied the field into its relevance.
Some of the things that we're talking about in 2016 are the same things we were talking about in 1945. Paula, tell us a little bit about that. What's still relevant?
Funny you should ask that, because the July issue of the magazine is going to actually have an article on some of the key topics that we're still talking about from 1945, 1946. When we looked back on it, there were really 4 key issues that they were looking at. And one was back then they were looking at correspondence courses, because after the war they needed to get people upskilled very quickly, but they couldn't leave their jobs, and so they were bringing jobs to them. And so today that's e-learning, and you can asynchronous or synchronous, and you can do it, at your pace, at your time. And so it's one of those that still evolved, but they needed to have it ready. It needed to be done.
The purpose of it
on
is
the time.
still,
Yes, the purpose of it is still there. And then obviously some of the issues that we're still totally looking at today is proving value. How do you get to the CEO and you prove that value, that you need these types of courses and the types of skills that they need. Justifying training has been a big one. That was still back then, that's still today, in terms of maybe it's not even training you need. And so today we're really looking at the assessments. So
in 70 years, the mechanics of putting a magazine together have changed dramatically. And I think a lot of people take for granted the fact that they can read TD on their iPad or on their mobile device, or they can download the app. Let's talk a little bit from a magazine practitioner standpoint about the evolution of publishing and how ATD kept up with that.
When I started working on the magazine, we literally typed out the manuscripts, which were sent to us by snail mail. We pasted them up, we cut them and put them on boards mechanically, and it was a long process. It was frustrating, and it didn't really encourage you to innovate or to change. So when technology came along in publishing, that was a tremendous gift to editors. And I think now that we have digital media and social media and outreach, the audience and the readers are much, much more involved than they ever were.
Does it allow us, Paula, to be more responsive too, do you think, in terms of?
You can get more out there. You don't have to be where the event is happening to be able to cover it, to be able to get the information that you need. So, you don't need to be the reporter out on the street anymore. And so I think that's a big thing you can certainly cover from a distance and get more in there.
But let's talk about some favorite stories that have run over the years, or features, things that we've done that both of you all, as people who literally had your hands on the publication, are like, that was cool.
Well, my favorite, of course, are the At Sea Level articles, the series that's been running now almost 10 years that Tony Bingham and I have been doing. Basically, we interview the CEOs of prominent companies to get their take on how talent development supports them in their major strategies. And they are by far and away the most interesting interviews, I think, that I have done in my years at the magazine. The CEOs are, of course, very articulate, but they are genuinely enthusiastic promoters and supporters of the field.
Which is what we like.
Yes.
How about for you, Paula?
I think, You know, I've been there 10 years, so I know when we got there we were getting these feedback from the readers, and so we decided we wanted to do something fun. And so the long views have always been a column that I've enjoyed. We've done them since probably around 2007. They've been one an issue, and we did it because we just wanted, first we wanted to have some fun, so we said let's create a centerfold. And so we have the full-length photo of the people, and you know, they're real big thinkers in the industry.
So let's talk about what's next for TD Magazine.
What's next? I think the readers are going to really tell me what's next. I mean, we've always been reader-driven. We've always had our readership surveys. We want to know your feedback. What topics are keeping you up at night? What topics do we need to be covering that we haven't covered yet? But also I think technology is changing, obviously. The May issue of TD for the first time is a full issue on the app, and so that's going to change the way that our readers can consume the content. And I think it's important that we give them different ways to consume it.
I had one thing I think it's important to mention is that the magazine has contributed to the profession by publishing information that is the result of research or is unique or has advanced the profession. Probably the best example is Don Kirkpatrick's 4 Levels, which we published for the first time ever anywhere in 1958.
And our members can actually find those articles in our archive. So as long
Yes.
as they are members, they go on, log in, they can find the actual articles from 1958 and 1959.
So it was an idea with sticking power.
Obviously it was, and a tribute to the magazine for seeing it early and staying with it throughout its course. So ladies, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you.